Charles?
So it's okay for me to talk to,
talk
to there,
to there,
even though the camera's there?
I'll be multitasking tonight. I'm not a good multitasker when we're pulling over here and pulling here and all that sort of stuff.
All right.
Ready to go, Charles? Cool. All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome everyone online for another hashtag Ask Jim. We've got a great bunch of people in. I know Emma, who does all the head training, she said it's a great group of people. With such a large group as well, she was a bit concerned and stuff about the noises and stuff like that, but it's been fantastic and she's really appreciative of everyone here. And it's a massive, great sign for the group to start 2024, isn't it?
It's our biggest training course we've ever done.
Biggest?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had to cram them in.
Absolutely. Now, the great thing about that is that everyone here has had the courage to take the action in 2024, not sort of, I should have done it years ago, sort of thing. They've actually taken action, so well done in here. So for guys online, we're online for TikTok as well. So if you've got TikTok, leave your questions in there as well. We've got around 80,000 followers on TikTok, so we can go live on there. We'll read your questions across the gym, so leave them there as well. So the way it works, if you're a first-time listener or watching online, we have the live franchisees here in the audience, and we want them to come up and ask Jim a question on the mic. And everyone who asks Jim a question on the mic will get a pick at the prizes here as well with our Monopoly, our hats, shirts. If we don't have a prize here that you like, I can get some stuff from the shop tomorrow and give it to you. So please ask a question. Now, I've got all your questions here, which I can read out, but we prefer if you come up to the microphone. So who wants to kick us off?
I'll kick you off.
Just come up. Yep. Don't need to put a hand up either. Just come up anytime as well. Online as well.
Hi Jim, I'm
Hi.
Derek. I'm looking at a blinds franchise. I've done a bit of research into your background and your authenticity, but my question tonight kind of like covers the span of your PhD days into your societal views now. And I know that from reading your first book that during your PhD research you found that society was, in your terms, heading in a very bad direction. Reflecting on your journey of the last 30 or 40 years and building up the Jim's group and all of the people that you've spoken to and networked with, what are your views today on today's society in terms of its sustainability and direction?
We are going through the same process of decay that wealthy urban civilizations in the past have done, like that of ancient Rome. It's the same process for the same reason. I am a lot more optimistic these days, not because society is heading in a better direction, but because the science, advances in science, particularly epigenetics, gives really strong potential to turn this around. And I've got a research program now which is costing several $1 million a year, which is actually aimed to do just that.
And you've got a website that specifically relates to that.
Biohistory.org.
Biohistory.org.
It's got some videos on there and some books that you can look at, which explains what we're about.
Yep. Is that your latest book is on that website?
Yeah, Epigenetics and Character is the latest book, yeah.
All right, thanks, Jim.
We're about to do a rewrite. We've run out of that, so it's going well.
Well, that's a good problem to have.
Yep.
All the best to you.
Thank
Good
you.
question. Well on, Matt. Derek, thank you very much as well. Just online, Jim, on TikTok for the first
If you'd
one.
like a book, by the way, you can get a book as a prize. We haven't got any here, but
I've got them in the shop. We can get
we've got them in the shop if you'd like that as your prize.
Absolutely.
Good man, Derek. Thanks for that. Online, Jim, real quickly, why don't you keep the TikTok people engaged? Does Jim still have the hat that he wears on the advert?
No,
So,
I don't own it.
You don't have it, but we've got a whole
I
bunch
don't
of
have
you
it,
can buy in
but
there.
here it is.
I didn't bring the beard down either. Yeah,
I've even got a fake beard, actually, but not,
didn't bring
not
the
here.
fake
But
beard down
it's a
today.
bit scratchy. But there you go.
absolutely. So you can see how easy it is. How's the stream online, Charles, with the Facebook? Is it all right? Cool. All right. Come up and go for it.
Hi, my name is Jagrup Singh. Hi, Bill. Hi, everyone. Actually, Bill, I am doing as a disability support worker job last 10 years. In my friend circle, all are like doing jobs, no many businessmen. And just want to ask you how we can manage that time with family and the business, because it's like very new in our life.
You know, the single biggest thing when I ring people who've been with us I've been on anniversaries, like 10, 20, 30 years, and I ask them about what they were doing and what they're doing now as a business. And you know, some of them making a lot more money. That is a possibility. But the great majority simply say the great thing about it is that when you've got your own business, you've got time for family. And that means men who see their kids growing up instead of being away, you know, working in the city all the time. Or women who can pick up their kids from school. You know, I drive my son to school, pick him up every day. I couldn't do that in a normal job. Now, I might work weekends, I might work after hours, but that flexibility, that time with family is the best advantage. And I would say it's not worth it. No other success can compensate for failure in the home. It's not worth it to spend all your time and effort on your business, on making money, if you neglect your family.
Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you.
Good man. Cool. Come up and ask anything you like.
So I have a background in nursing, and there is a massive ageing population. Have you ever thought about doing some sort of nursing to keep that ageing population in their home?
You read the corporate mind. We're about to start Jim's home care, probably in April. Is that right?
they want to start doing content in February. Yeah, February, April-ish time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Franchise is actually in training.
We're about to launch it. Yep.
Fantastic.
And that'll be home care in terms of support, general disability support, but also in nursing too. So
Yep.
it's a
So
great,
for aged care and disability support.
yes,
Yep.
Perfect.
absolutely.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Segues into cleaning and laundry and...
We can do all those anyway, but this is for general care. We can do the whole thing.
Absolutely. But yeah, for NDIS, people always want good people to do laundry and gardening and all sort of stuff as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Hi, James. Do you take supplements like vitamins? And which book do you recommend for who is starting a franchise now?
Do I take vitamins?
Yeah.
Don't take any steroids or anything, Jim.
No, so like
A
zinc,
tiny
magnesium.
bit of vitamin D on doctor's advice. That's about all. My vitamins are health, are exercise, and a good diet.
Okay.
I have a bit of an addiction to chocolate, but I tend to try and eat a lot of vegetables, and I exercise very rigorously, at least half an hour running and weightlifting a day,
Okay.
and usually more. We've got a racquetball court that's just getting set up too, which is fantastic as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And book?
And what about the book?
Book recommend for which purpose?
For business. For who is starting, like for us, who is starting a new business now.
Well, there's a wonderful book I can recommend. It's called Every Customer a Fan, which is my book. So that's a good one.
A part of yours?
But in terms of, I don't know about business books as such, but I would recommend Atomic Habits as a great book if you haven't read it. And
I'm
that's
reading
just
now,
about
yeah.
that's just about setting up habits of life, learning how to do the things you need to do with your life.
Okay.
I strongly recommend that. There's a lot of other great books around. I've got a list actually. If you email me Jim@jims.net, I'll send you a list of my favourite books.
It's on your website as well.
It's on the website, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's about 60 of them. I read on average like a couple of books a week, so I've got a huge list. I'm happy to share that with you.
Okay.
But I would reckon if I was going to say one book, Atomic Habits would be the number one I'd recommend.
Sweet. Is that one I'm reading now? Yeah. Is that one I'm reading now?
He's ready.
Is that the book that I'm reading now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. jimpenman.com.au, there's a book recommendation list and they're all on there, so
Okay.
for sure. Good question, good man. And online real quickly though, Jim, I've got a few people from TikTok. I've got to go through, there's a lot of comments, which is good. Someone says, what monopoly is that on the table? Is that a Jim's one or a Cairns one or a Jim's one? It's not the Cairns version, it's the Jim's group version.
It's the Jim's version. I actually designed the whole thing myself. It plays like normal Monopoly, but it's 100 times better because it's all about
One of the
Jim.
quickest things I've seen you do, exactly right. And
But instead of properties, you buy divisions. So green, for example, is the mowing division, and instead of Bond Street, you have rubbish removal. So it's services, and you have little Jimbos that you can.
Yeah, they're all little Jimbos
You
for the
can
houses
build.
and stuff. Yeah, and we
Yeah.
have for
Go
the,
to jail?
Yeah,
Yeah, you do.
unfortunately, we wanted to breach. We wanted to have a breach the franchise contract, but they wouldn't let us change the corners.
you couldn't change the free parking or the jail, but you can change everything else. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. And we got more one line. Someone's gone, how many companies do you have? So how many companies do you own?
Well, not a lot actually. Mostly it's just gyms, and there's a property company that owns the property here. Not a lot.
And here's a good one real quickly before we get to the gentleman over here. He says, what's the average fee and what's the average turnover or how much are people making on average?
Okay, we did a survey of our mowing franchisees just recently. The average turnover was just under $3,000 a week, about $2,900 per week. That's just a representative group. Some people make a lot more, some people make less. Fees would probably average about $800 a month. So it's roughly speaking about 6% of turnover. But the more you make, the lower the percentage. So the franchisees that are making $1 million plus a year, their fees would be minuscule because it's a base fee plus lead fee. It's not a percentage.
There you go. Good question online from TikTok.
But what I would suggest to anybody is if you're interested in a franchise, do your research and go talk to as many franchises as possible and throw some figures at them and ask what they say. You shouldn't believe everything you're told by a franchise, even though we don't mislead anybody. It's just good principles. Good franchisees do research.
Now, do you want to keep the bucket hat for the whole time or do you want to take it off? You want to take it off? All right, up to you. Put it down.
I'll put it on the beer.
Yeah.
Good evening, Jim. I just wanted to ask if you can still recall when you hired your first employer, Sorry? Did you pay him cash on hand, ABN or TFN?
ATO's what?
At that time.
Actually, I had subbies in the early days, so they mostly paid me. So it's rather than me paying them. But I have never, ever worked on cash in hand. I do not believe in tax evasion. I don't approve of it. We know some franchisees do take cash. It's up to them. It's their own business. But we don't encourage it. We think that people should pay honest tax.
That's the official ATO line. Wink.
It's also our line too.
It is the official Jim
I was a
Penman line.
lawnmower contractor for 15 years and I did not, and I always disclosed my income. The thing of it is, when you're a business for yourself, you can legally claim so many deductions. You know, part of your rent, your power, your vehicle, there's all sorts of things, clothes that you're wearing, you get very good deductions. You can split your income with your wife, because I've had non-working wives for a lot of the time. So there's lots of ways of legally reducing your tax. I don't believe tax evasion is a good thing to do.
Why don't you tell the story of the $100 you drove all the way back to the dealership to the undercharge?
Yeah, it's in the book. And I believe in that kind of stuff. I'm also a practicing Christian, and I don't think it's right to be dishonest in any way.
So you walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Yeah.
Come up, go for it.
I always have a principle too. You should never do anything that you can be blackmailed for if anybody finds out. But seriously, if you do things like that, if you have cash in hand and you work that way, somebody knows about it and somebody can find out about it. You should never do anything that anybody can blackmail me for.
Also from insurance though, it's hard to, if you not,
Yes.
your net profit.
That's
is
right.
not
We
what
have
you make.
franchisees who actually are trying to claim on insurance and their actual official income is too miserably, ridiculously low because they're not declaring. It's harder these days because of electronic payments.
Go for it.
Hi, Jim. If you could have a superpower that would help you in business, what superpower would that be?
Oh, I know what I'd have. I would like to read people's character and know who's going to be successful. Because we have a very high success rate, it's 90% plus who do well. If I could work out a way of having some light in our training session and shine it on the ones and know who's going to fail, which is always generally a matter of character. Sometimes it's an emotional problem. That's the one thing I would really love to have. Good question.
Thank you.
Very good question.
My son always asks that. My 14-year-old. We always talk about superpowers, super speed, super healing.
Yeah.
But
The power to read people.
power to read people would be the number one.
Nice.
I've got a couple real quickly online, Jim. We want to keep them engaged. Someone's gone here. Dr. Kumar, if you could do anything different starting up back before you started the Jim's franchising company, what would you have done?
I would have invested in IT a lot quicker. I spent 9 months on lawyers, but it's just ridiculous. I mean, I could do a contract in like a couple of hours now for what you need for a franchise agreement. I would have invested very heavily in IT and a lot more over time. That's the biggest mistake we've made.
Absolutely. Someone online here as well. What is the hardest thing you have to do in Jim's or had to do in Jim's group?
The hardest thing is when people fail. You never get used to it. It's just distressing. I get it because people come. Everybody has I've got 5,000 plus franchisees with my phone number, with my email address, and when things aren't working out, they let me know about it, and I find that very hard to take.
Absolutely. Guys, you got any questions, just please feel free to come up and interrupt us. We'll
It's
get
hard to
there.
fire people too, but I find having franchisees fail is number one.
Go for it.
Hey Jim, how you going? Do you have a dark side? Because like a lot of
He does.
a lot of people always talk about their success, all that sort of stuff. But there's a lot of people that have been successful that have come from a bad upbringing, drugs, all that sort of stuff. Everything's all airy-fairy sometimes. So.
Well, let me tell you, I have a really big thing for villains. I love Darth Vader, Emperor Palpatine, Monty Burns in The Simpsons. I love the Green Goblin in Spider-Man. I'm a great fan of villains. In fact, when I was at school, I always take the bad guy. Whenever I did any acting, I always wanted to be the bad guy. So I must have an inner evil in me, surely to goodness.
Rebel.
But look, we've all got weaknesses. I think one of my worst weaknesses is I get very angry. I've got a very bad temper and I can be very rude at times to people, which I often regret afterwards. And sometimes emails are good actually because I'm going to send an email I might be angry about something and I have to think, okay, is the situation going to be better if I respond, or is it just relieving my feelings and you have to stop it? But sometimes I lose my temper, and it's not nice. I can be very aggressive. If anybody's seen me played any game, I'm very, very competitive, aren't I?
You are, yes. You are very competitive.
I like to win. I play with my kids at Monopoly, including this one, and they complain like mad. They say, you don't even like Monopoly and you always win.
He goes in a zone. It's real, not concerning, but it's like real competitive. Like really competitive.
Real life Monopoly pretty well.
Well, I do, because I make deals. That's the thing. You make deals. You team with someone. I've got some of this colour, you got some. Let's get together and we'll give each other immunity and we'll do this and this. So I make deals all over the place, and that's how I do it. So it's not, the luck is there, but you've got to plan. I love games like chess. I tell you what I really love is games like diplomacy. Anybody played diplomacy? Where you have this map of Europe and you move pieces and you make alliances and stuff and you stab people in the back. I really enjoy that kind of stuff. There's another game called Apocalypse, which is all about nuclear warfare in Europe, which is you have the whole board's covered with radioactive markers after a while. That is really fun. So
you do have a dark side then? Yeah.
Yes.
Short answer, yes.
Not hard to find.
I want to ask you a bit about your biohistory research, and from your perspective, considering that, who is someone, or what's apart from me, of course, what's the most exceptional person that has stepped foot in Australia throughout history? Whether they're good or bad, or like positive or negative influences, but from your perspective, who would you come to your mind?
Australians. I don't know too many Australian scientists actually, or top business owners. I tend to admire certain politicians. I think that Bob Hawke was an exceptional Prime Minister. I really admire him. I read his biography recently. An unpleasant man in many ways, but a great leader. And others like John Howard, Peter Costello, who paid off the national debt, which I think was an extraordinary great thing to do. So leaders, I used to admire Jeff Kennett way back as a Premier of Victoria. He just revolutionised the state, made it more efficient. So yeah, Australia in terms I'd often go with political leaders. Overseas I would tend to go for people like philanthropists like Bill Gates and so forth, or Elon Musk as somebody who's a great technologist. He's a complete fruitcake, but he's a brilliant engineer. He's extraordinary what he's done with SpaceX. And then people like hang on, the British guy, Dyson, yeah.
Dyson, and you like Branson as well.
Yeah.
Richard Branson.
Yeah, Richard Branson, Dyson, it's an engineering. I mean, I admire people like that. I do admire entrepreneurs.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about the worldwide one, but I guess that's...
Well, you try to find Australians who like that. I mean, Dick Smith was pretty good. He was a good character. I admire what he did. He was very good on promoting himself. This is way back now, but he's an admirable guy. But I really like people who've made the world a better place. I don't know that selling retail is necessarily what you do. I think an engineer or somebody who's changed people's lives for the better. And in a strange way, we're not engineers here, but the one thing that I take great pride in is the fact that Jim's Group has probably created more millionaires, more multimillionaires than any other company in the history of this country, because of the way we operate.
So you could have, sorry, I'm just going to go on a bit of a tangent.
Go for it.
If you could have had any of the historical characters worldwide to partner with you to work on James, who would you choose?
Well, getting them to agree to work with me is a bit of a... Because Jim's looks pretty big in Australian terms, but bear in mind we're like a little tiny minnow compared with these great minds overseas. I would love to have a chat with people like Musk or Bill Gates, that's for sure. I admire these people greatly. I think what Gates did with the Gates Foundation is extraordinary. Using all this incredible amount of money in a really focused way to do things like wipe out polio, or save millions of kids from dying of malaria. I think this guy's amazing. He'd be my number one most admired person in all the world.
Really? Cool.
There you go. Good question.
Good question. Great question.
Got any questions, guys? Just jump up and ask Jim. Got a heap of them here as well. Got one real quickly online, Jim. Someone's looking at franchising their business, and they said, as a franchisor, should they charge a percentage of fee, or should they take percentage of sales?
It depends on the type of franchise. Because if you were doing it in retail terms, percentage is a good way to go. And they all use that for that reason. If it's in the service industry, generally speaking, the flat fee, or in our case, flat people's lead fee is better, because it's just too difficult to know what somebody's doing. Also, I don't see why a person who's turning over $1 million should pay far more fees than somebody who's turning over 100,000, for example.
Absolutely.
Because they're the ones that have done it. So we don't think that's fair.
Sure. Come up, ask whatever you want.
Hi Jim, so I flew all the way from Auckland. So I had one question, like I'm under the dog grooming. So for the dog grooming, you guys export trailers all the way from Australia to New Zealand. I mean, why don't we produce trailers back in any part of New Zealand and then reduce the cost? That will help in reducing the franchise cost as well.
We'd love to. We just got to find the right supplier.
Because it's around 12.
No, we'd absolutely love to. We're actually actively looking for suppliers, but you've got to find somebody who can do a good quality job. And fiberglass is a fairly specialist kind of industry.
Yeah.
So you've got to find somebody. Even in Australia, there's only one supplier we can find to do it.
Yeah.
It's not easy. If you've got any leads of anybody you know in New Zealand that you can help us, we would dearly love to, because the freight cost is horrible.
It's $12,000 to ship trailer from New Zealand.
You are not wrong, but then again, if we could get someone local to do it and they charge us
Yeah.
$50,000, you're not better off, are you? So you've got to be able to find somebody in New Zealand who can do it for the right price.
Yeah.
We are actively looking, but we haven't found anybody yet. But please,
Thank you.
give us
Good
a hand.
question.
Yeah.
Great question. Anybody any questions, guys? Just want to come up to Mike? Jump up. If not, I've got a heap here I'm going to run through. So people left 100 and something questions, so there's a lot. So I'm
Okay.
going to try and run through as many as I can. So just come up any time as well if you've got something. Ladies coming up?
No question.
Come up and ask something.
Good.
Go for it. Push in.
Out of all the divisions you've launched, what has made you the most excited?
Well, mowing is obviously,
Okay, aside from mowing, because that's always going to be your
because that was
favourite.
amazing. I started the business thinking I might have 100 franchisees, and you end up with 5,000 plus, over 2,000 of which are mowing. I don't know. I love all my divisions, really. There's certain things that I'm really, really like. Dogwash is one that I have a feeling for. It's just great division.
Yeah.
It's very colourful. You've got very motivated people who love doing what they do, probably more than any other division.
Yeah.
It's good, and that's always been one of my favourites. Or they tend to be very sort of noisy and rowdy and fun-loving. Dogwash people, they're different to anybody else.
Has there ever been any that you've launched that you've been quite scared about launching that you didn't think would work as well as they did?
If I was scared about it, I wouldn't launch them in the first place if I thought they were likely to fail. That's
Yep.
one of the things we do. Certainly beauty has got off to a phenomenal start. The amount of publicity we've had is just shocking. It's wonderful. We had hundreds and hundreds of leads in our first week. And we've got, 8 franchisees so far. It's only been going about 3 months. That's
Today's show, you're on a current affair.
Yeah.
Millions of views on TikTok videos. It was pretty nuts.
That is astonishing.
Megan Gale even commented on stuff.
I love divisions to do with health. I'm a really big health fanatic. I mean, I'm 71 years old and I'm in really, really good shape, very energetic, very happy, just doing really well. I like the other people to learn that. So we've got one starting very soon, which is like Jim's life coaching.
Yep.
We'd love to do personal trainers, that sort of thing.
So one question we always get asked is, why doesn't Jim have gyms?
Jim's gym, yeah. We always get that one.
The reason is because we are very good at doing what we do, which is service businesses.
Yep.
Where somebody calls us to come and do something for them. Doing a site-based system is a very different business. We actually did have a go at that many years ago, not under the Jim's brand, but it was really bad. We didn't know what we were doing. People actually lost money and stuff. It was very hard.
Yep.
Some of our franchisors actually invested and lost.
And yeah.
But you will have one Jim's gym. There'll be one location, which is
Yes,
getting built
it's
up there.
nearly finished there. My
Awesome.
wife says she's the builder. By the end of the month, we should have it ready. But there'll be a Jim's gym. But in terms of doing it as look, it sounds like we do everything. You know, you think we do beauty, we do mowing, we do cleaning, we do IT. They're all actually very similar businesses.
Yep.
The basics are extremely similar. The contracts are all the same. Site-based franchises are a very different animal. I would never, ever, ever want to compete in areas like food, for example.
Yeah,
They know
fair
what they're
enough.
doing too well.
Yeah.
But what we do, we're very good at.
Beautiful.
Good questions.
Thank you.
Thanks for that as well. Beauty shirts look good too. Their cars are all signed like that. They look great.
Yeah.
Really good job. Guys, you got a question, please jump up online. if you want. If not, I'm going to run through a bunch here which people left, so I'm going to read them out, Jim. Let's try and get through some of these. Someone goes, how do you stay healthy with what's going on from Jim's fencing? How do you stay healthy with what's going on? So you're obviously very busy. How do you stay healthy?
Okay, I eat pretty well. I actually cook for myself these days. I have a dish, I use olive oil with onions and a whole lot of different vegetables, a little bit of seafood, and that's my main kind of meal. But different, and then put sort of like Thai spices and stuff in it too. So I really enjoy that, and it's super, super healthy. Lots and lots of vegetables, eat a lot of fruit, and exercise. I run half an hour a day, minimum. I do weightlifting as well. At the weekends, I work on my farm. I do gardening. I've got these huge veggie patches and so forth up there. So I do a lot of walking. I walk, just going back and forth to the office because I live next door. I usually average at least 5,000 paces a day. That's what my phone tells me. So, yeah, physically active is very, very important. I find people, it's amazing. People can be much younger than me and they're old. Seriously. The people who are in their 50s and they just slow down. I think you've got to keep... I think one of the great things about the kind of business we do is they do keep you physically active. One of the most striking things is that there's one division that's really, really good at keeping people going into their 70s and even beyond. You know what that is? Mowing. We've got far more mowing guys in their 70s than we have for any other division, and mowing is less than half these days.
Well, we had Jeff who started at 79 up in the Noosa. He's on the Today Show as well with Carl Stefanovic having a few jokes.
And they're still going well. They might not do quite as many jobs as 79 as somebody might do at 29, but the mind's still there.
Jeff's smart. He gets everyone else to do the jobs for him. He just organises it. So Jeff's pretty good. That's what we're going to do.
Also, being outside is very important too. And I think you've got to keep yourself psychologically healthy, like your good social relations. I have a very happy marriage, stormy at times, but I love my wife dearly. She's drop dead gorgeous if anybody sees her, but she is. And I love her, and I've got kids. I've got 10 children, which I keep in contact with. I've got a very active social business life, so my mind is active. A lot of those kind of things too. I believe happiness is something that you can, it's a science, something that you can actually develop, happiness and health. And there's certain other things too, like you don't smoke, don't drink, those kinds of things.
But if you did drink, you'd be drinking this one at the front.
If I did drink, I'd be drinking Jim's Lager, which apparently is a very good beer, but I've never tasted it.
Can I ask it?
Throughout your entrepreneurial journey, what do you think your biggest challenge has been?
Finding good people. That's the hardest thing of all. It's really difficult at every level. At finding franchisees, finding franchisors, finding people to start new divisions, and finding staff. Mm-hmm. It's very challenging. Jim's is not the easiest place to work at. It's very fast moving. It's changing all the time. We're always changing things. It's surprising number of people have actually come from the factory floor, you might say. Like Joel started, how many years ago was that?
12 years, yeah.
12 years ago, started a very basic job, in fact, a temporary job doing the most basic you could imagine. He's now one of my top managers. He's running the social media. Rocky, he came in because he came in a very junior position. Now he's the COO of the company. Megan, who runs Visa, she was basically, when she came to me, she's a woman in her 40s, single mother. She's never had a pay rise in her life. She's now a very successful manager. So we're actually good at finding people from all kinds of backgrounds.
Great.
And franchising is very good that way too, because we care about your character, but we don't care about your education. Yeah. So you get people like Dan Cole that you heard from this morning, who's a high school dropout. Yeah. But because in his own business, he can actually prove to himself to be an amazing operator.
Well, he's an incredibly hard worker, so yeah. It didn't really matter.
There you go.
Awesome.
Good question, guys. If you've got a question, just come up to ask as well. I've got a few online as well. Someone's saying, just real quickly, Jim, just a few online. Someone saying, are we in New Zealand? Just real quickly,
we are. We are big in New Zealand and growing fast too.
Now, someone's asked there as well, how's Jim's Diggers in South Australia going? How's the Diggers division going in South Australia? They've asked.
It's good. It's good. It's not as big as many other divisions, but it's still good.
And another one real quickly, thoughts on the garage door franchising? Obviously, it's a new division in the Jim's group.
Well, it's quite new, just getting off the ground. We've got great hopes for it. You never get things like diggers and garage doors. You're never going to have like hundreds of franchisees as you will with something like Dogwash or Pest Control or those ones. But they're good divisions.
Absolutely.
And they work well with other divisions too.
Cool. Go for it.
When you're looking at the process of releasing a new division, what does that whole brainstorming and the process of solidifying it until release looks like? Like what are the parameters that you look at?
We look at it in terms of, first of all, we need income. We need to know that our franchisees can make at least $60 an hour. I'm talking about an average ordinary operator must be able to make $60 an hour. Somebody was talking to me today about babysitting. Couldn't do it because you cannot make $60 an hour babysitting somebody's kids. So that will be out. Apart from that, and we look at the potential of the market, you want the ability to put quite a few franchisees on if you can. The main thing we look for is the character of the individual. So a lot of people come from within. A lot of new divisions start from people within Jim's group. They're franchisees or franchisors already. And if you've got a good track record within Jim's, it's a very easy choice. Like we were talking today about this lady who's looking at starting up Jim's hairdressing. And because we know her and her background and so forth, it makes it very easy. But the best people is the hard part. You've got I would much rather have a great leader with a mediocre idea than a mediocre leader with a great idea.
So we could say it's just the main secret ingredient is having the idea, but then having that trust on that person that's going to lead the project.
We have a structure that makes it very easy. So you want to start a new division, for example. Okay, first of all, your contracts are already set out. You just got to change details like what codes you're going to have, what fees you're going to charge. It's a really simple process. You want to do a logo. We have a logo generator, which will help you to design a logo. It's automatic. We've got models for websites. This is how websites look like. You just got to change the data. We've got models for manuals. So it's actually remarkably easy to get a new franchise going in a new division. Like hairdressing is, for example, we're talking to Mailing today. Almost certain that'll launch by 1st of March. It's not a big process.
And when did you guys start today? Did you say the conversation for hairdressing started?
The first time we spoke to her about it, she rang me last week.
Wow.
We said to come in today, so we met her at 11 o'clock today. We went through the whole thing. We showed her what's involved. She's out now starting to work on logos. So hopefully that'll start within just a few weeks.
Okay.
It's very fast. We've also got a coaching program. So that if you're a new division or you're part of a group and you meet monthly for a Zoom session and you have 6 monthly conferences where you get together other divisionals and you learn things and so forth. So there's a structured system involved. But it's actually remarkably easy to get a new division going because they are exceptionally similar in their fundamentals.
So if someone wanted or had an idea for one,
yes.
What are the type of requirements that involve?
Well, we'd look at you. First of all, we'd look at the idea. Does it conflict with another division? That'll be a dead. You can't do it because of territory rights. So we'd look at, can you make good money out of it? Is it a decent size? That's fairly simple stuff, actually. Mostly things come up okay. But the real session is you.
Yeah.
What kind of person are you? What's your background? If you're a Jim's person, we want to know things like, for example, what's your customer service rating? If you're 4.4, forget about it. You wouldn't get a look in. If you're a 4.8, sounds good. Okay, what are you turning over? We'd like to see somebody who's been successful. So if you're turning over, say, $250,000 a year, you've got a great business, that's the kind of person we would look at very, very favourably.
And do you get many ideas for new divisions that you get to turn down because the person suggesting it maybe doesn't have the trust that you feel like they need? Or not really?
We get a new division probably at least once a month coming to us about something or other. Some of them, a lot of them don't go ahead, mostly because they see what's involved and stuff.
And it's like, maybe I'll just leave it.
There's a bit of a screening process involved. But
we'll look into it a little bit. Like we'll try and find out some stuff and
Yeah, so sometimes the franchisee, sometimes we'll say to them, listen, it's a good concept, but you get some experience first. Mm-hmm. Like if it's a new franchisee who hasn't started yet, we might say to them, it's a good idea, but why don't you see how you go? Because internally we can judge you very well. because we know how you respond to clients. We know what your complaints you're getting, if any. We know what your ratings are. We know what your customers are saying. We know what you like to deal with. We know about paying fees on time. We can judge you very well internally. So if you're a very good operator, you've been with us for a while, it's a very safe bet from our point of view. Cool. Like, for example, laundry. I mean, that's the outstanding success in recent years. Started March 3 years ago. Not even 3 years old. Got 120 franchisees. Amazing. Now, good idea. You can make good money, but you've got an exceptional leader, Bill Cobbinoglu, who's been a great franchisor in the cleaning division. So because you've got a great leader, then you have a great division.
Great insight. Thank you.
Yeah, good questions there.
Yeah,
Real quickly, Jim, I'm going to fire a few at you that people left. Come up and ask it though if you want. Go for it.
Hi, Jim. Sherwin from Fencing. In the event of an economic recession, what will be your advice to your franchisees? And what will be Jim's group's plan of action?
Well, look, I'm a patriotic Australian, and I want the best for my countrymen, okay, and women, of course. But having said that, a recession would be very, very good news for us, because we have a massive oversupply of work. We knock back hundreds of thousands of leads a year, and if we needed to, we could find more. What we lack is franchisees. And quite frankly, we tend to do much better during recessions. During the financial meltdown in 07, 08, in that period of time, somebody actually contacted me and said, what's been the change in your leads over the past 12 months? And I said, about 10% different. They said, 10% drop. I said, no, 10% up. So in actual fact, we're counter-cyclical. When unemployment is very low, when everybody's offering sky-high wages, it's hard for us to compete. We're still growing, actually. We have been. But we had 1 year back in the 90s when the Keating recession was on. We grew like 40% in a year, but 1,000 in a single year. And that's because people were out of work and we had work for them.
Oh, that's good.
So I'm not concerned about it. We always can find more work.
Right. That's good.
But as what a franchisee should do, you just got to be a bit more active maybe.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time people get a bit lazy with us because the work just pours in. Well, if the work is quiet, and that can be because of the recession or because it's not raining, for mowing, for example, then you've got to be doing more extras. You've got to be upselling better. You've got to be really focusing on great customer service. You've just got to try harder. But on the whole, service industry is not affected that much by recessions. We just do well all the time.
That's good to hear. This one is a very important question. Do you believe in aliens?
Do you believe in aliens? Is the question.
I absolutely believe there's aliens somewhere in the universe. I don't think they're here.
Right.
There you go. Good one there. Cool, Jim. Quick couple on here as well. Come up and ask your question first. Yep, go for it.
Hi, Jim. You've built your business on client satisfaction. I actually like to call it people satisfaction, because I don't look at as a client, I just look at as people. Some people are born with a natural ability, some people can learn, and some people don't get it. Who or what person or book, and at what stage did you understand that you had that ability, because your focus is completely on that?
Customer service, though, bear in mind too, in gyms, our focus is more on franchisee satisfaction, because franchisees are our number one clients. There's no competition, but it's the same kind of thing. You want to satisfy them, you want to make them feel good about what you do. Look, a lot of it's emotional. The kind of people that do things well are people that really care about what they're doing. Like, I have an emotional drive when I was a mowing contractor to look after my customers. It just would offend me, and it would shock me to have anything that wasn't a perfect job. I hated letting people down. It's an emotional driver. And the same thing, the best franchisors are not the ones who said, how can I make the most money?
No.
They're the ones that said, how can I give my franchisees the best experience? The ones who really care about the people they're dealing with, and they really want to help them, and they show that. And they're the ones that tend to be the most successful.
The ones that
It's got to come from the heart.
100%.
I believe that one of the greatest problems is, if you know about economics, the Chicago School, this idea that the only job of a business is to make money for shareholders. I think that's actual garbage, that we have stakeholders, that we have responsibilities to people. We have, in our sense, obviously franchisees, but clients employees, the community as a whole. And I think great long-term businesses actually are better if you actually look at more than the bottom line. There's a wonderful book called The Man Who Broke Capitalism. It's about Jack Welch, who was one of the most admired business leaders of the 20th century. And when he left, which was about 2000, around about that age, the GE just went down. And all that decline, that terrible decline since then, and the mass firings and all the things that have gone wrong were a direct result of the decisions that he made, because he just cared about the money.
Yep, fully agree. Thank you.
Very good question as well. You got a question, guys? Jump up. Go for it. See your people here.
Can I segue from that caring about the money in terms of something that, not to be negative, but ultimately there's a succession plan in place. How do you manage the challenge between seceding the business from somebody with your authenticity and passion for customer service and try and keep it in that culture, as opposed to generally the people that are going to bubble up through the business, that have business training, that the MBAs, that are going to look at they're looking at the numbers, not at the humanity in the business?
We don't actually have any MBAs in Jim's group as far as I know, at least not in my office.
We had a couple and they were gone pretty quick, so...
Yeah.
Well, that's good news.
They don't tend to fit. It's a very personal business. You know, it's kind of like, I'm in touch with my franchisees. Something goes wrong, I'll walk down with my mobile phone and I'll say to insurance, whoever it is, what's happening? What's gone wrong? Well, why isn't this person being looked after? So it's kind of incredibly personal, very, very uncorporate. So I don't think you attract those people. What I'm hoping for, I have 10 children and their partners. I've got a couple of potential sons-in-law that I think could do a very good job. But I'd look for somebody with the right level of ambition and ethics. Somebody who cares. Like one of my future sons-in-law he's somebody, when he was an undergraduate student, set up a charity in Thailand. He's just a very decent guy, practicing Catholic, and just a really good, ethical person. I'd like somebody with those kinds of values. And one of the things I do intend, we haven't done it yet, but I will do it, is that every new contract will have a clause in it saying that Jim's group cannot be sold, or the majority control cannot be sold without the written consent of a majority of franchisees, because I'm very concerned after I'm gone that somebody could come in and say, hey, let's find some big multinational that gives a whole lot of money. And then they could rip people off blind.
Thank you very
And that's
much.
happened too many times to too many great brands who've been destroyed.
Thank you.
Because we always get the question about retirement, Jim, so what's the age you're going to retire?
I'll retire, and there'll be a beautiful ceremony, it'll be in a church, and I'll be in a box on the floor.
All right.
And I look it up on Google, and I do test these things, given my almost perfect health, personal habits, everything else. I would probably live into about my early to mid-90s. That's the best guess. So I'll be around for another 20 years.
Probably roughly the most time, the 20-year agreement for franchisees, so it's pretty much around that same sort of time.
I'd love to think you'll all be here in 20 years' time, but the likelihood is I'll outlast just about most people.
There we go. Good questions, guys. If you've got some more, please come up as well. Real quickly online from TikTok, so we can't ignore them. Thanks for them tuning in and asking a lot of stuff. We've always get the money questions. Going to ask you for the younger crowd on TikTok. They want to know, how much money do you have and what is your net income?
I'm a lot more famous than I'm rich, put it that way.
and we get the Jim for PM.
They tried to put me down for the BRW Rich 500, and I said, don't be ridiculous, not even close to that. Look, I look like I'm hugely successful, but the fact of the matter is we work on a very narrow margin. Our actual profit from Jim's group, the profit I take out of it, would be less than 1% of what our group turns over. And I might say that most of that goes into things like my research projects and so forth, or gets reinvested in the business. So without saying exactly what I'm worth, I'm well enough off. I don't lack for a crust, okay? But I don't spend a lot either. And I very strongly believe that money is a gift from God. It's lent to us to be used in some way. We live in a relatively simple lifestyle. Like I hang the washing out on the line, my wife does the laundry. We live ordinary. I was in the supermarket the other day and somebody said, oh, you're actually shopping? Yeah, I do. Not their idea of how a multimillionaire is supposed to live, but my kids have found it very strange actually. They said, we know what rich people are like. They're people with mansions and chauffeurs and luxury boats and holidays and all this stuff. And there's none of that in our family. We're just pretty ordinary.
Absolutely.
I bought my first car a year ago.
Brand new one. Yep.
First brand new car, November 2022. First time. That's because I wanted an electric car. Otherwise, I've never actually sold a car because they're always either crapped out and they go to the because or I give them away to somebody.
What model's the new one?
It's a Volvo electric. I love electric cars. I think it's really because the great thing about electric cars is that we've got solar panels both at home and here, which generate surplus power during the day. So I set it up so it always it only powers daytime. So I power it off sunlight rather than coal. And because there's surplus power, it doesn't cost anything to run, and there's no greenhouse gas emissions and other things.
Got a few more here, Jim. I want to get through. If you've got another one, come up and ask him.
Jim, this is a light one. I just want to ask, in the morning, 7 o'clock you're leaving. The last order to be ready, do you make her pay the first order, the $5? It's on the video.
On the video, you were saying in the car the day of the life, I think about the $5 fee, whoever's late to school, makes them late for school.
I don't think I ever find them. They've only got one kid left anyway.
Oh, okay.
I know what you're talking about though. Yeah, there's a video from the day in the life.
That's a while back. My kids are growing up. They range from 38 down to 14, but there's only one left at home, Aaron. So, which is hard actually. I miss my kids. I mean, I still see them, but they're not kids anymore.
Come up and ask, mate. Go for it. I've got a heap here which I want to try and run through some quick fire ones. We've got some good questions coming.
So Jim, like in my trade and in lawn movie trade, we need a trailer for our business.
Yes.
Why don't we have an option instead of trailer, we can have a big van? Because most of the people, they have problem in reversing the trailer or making sure that the trailer is parked in a correct manner.
It's a good idea. We're actually looking at plans. We've got a couple of vans. You see them driving around the place. They're big white vans, which we're getting set up to make it as an option. It does actually increase the initial cost quite a lot.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you have an asset. Right now, the trailer is a loan trailer. We don't own a trailer. But when, say, example, if I'm taking a business and I'm investing in a van, at the end of the day, that's my asset.
No, they still belong to us. We don't we maintain ownership of whether it's a van or whether it's a trailer. Jim's group, we don't want people taking our designs and going out there and operating as independents. Nothing to stop anybody doing that, but you've got to get your own trailer.
Yeah. Good questions. If you have more chats with Jim after as well about anything, please do so as well.
Yeah, but having a van's
people,
a
they have
good
struggle,
thought.
In parking, in...
Well, we have a lot of franchisees in NZ because I went and filmed there. And New South Wales and Sydney is a big one for Mowing. They all have vans for the division. They don't have actually the trailer, so yeah, it all
There's
depends.
sometimes risk as well. The trailers can get de-hook as well from the car.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a safety issue as well.
But trailers have an advantage too. They're almost pretty well immortal because they're fiberglass. So you can just patch them up and you put signs on them and stuff. And
I know Jim was looking at Sprinter vans as well for some time.
They're quite big vans.
Yeah, they've been looking at it. Yeah, those
you
big,
can easily
those
put a
big
ride-on
Sprinter
mower
vans.
in the
we
van.
do. It's just a case of it does increase the initial investment quite a lot. That's the issue.
But for Mowing in NZ, most of the guys actually do have vans.
In the van, exactly, yes.
Yep, most of them.
I've seen so many dog groomers, not from Jim, but from other companies. They have a big van.
Yep.
So they're doing that. It's quite, feasible for them.
We're looking at it. It's just a case of trying to make it cost effective because we don't make it too expensive to get in. That's one issue. Dogwash is a great division. It's got huge amounts of work, but it's one of the more expensive franchises because of the costs.
Yeah.
Good questions though, but keep it up because it's a really good one as well. Got some really quick ones as well that people left on the sheet you want to run through real quickly as well. Cool. It's nice. It's got water.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's Asper, not.
So someone's gone, Glenn Peterson from Mowing's gone, is it possible to get bonus money who gives successful referrals to other gyms? It's a really good idea. So if they give a referral, can they get something?
Well, you get bonuses for introducing franchisees, not for introducing work, because frankly, there's so much work around.
Well, it depends though. Like if you have a mowing guy, most will have a trees guy, right? And they refer each other work, or they might give something
I don't think they normally charge for it though. They just refer each other back and forth.
We have very enterprising franchisees that Phil's a good one in cleaning. He feels like the head hub, and he'll go and organise the handyman from gyms and stuff, and obviously put his margin on and things like that. So that's what some people do. So they do organise a lot of trades for people. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Sorry about the question you just read out. That was my question.
Oh, was it? Yeah, go for it. Ask more of it, mate. Yeah, go for it.
Mate, at my old company, there was incentive to give people a little bonus, like a cash bonus, for good referrals if they ended up referring someone and they got an interview and they were a successful interviewee and they got a job, the person that gave them that referral would get a bonus. It's an incentive to basically get people into sort of trade-based roles. But
we have a referral bonus, which is, I don't know what it's normally, $500, $1,000.
So being a new franchisee can range anywhere from 500 to 2 grand. It all depends on the person.
So introduce us to new
But this is for work
potential franchisees. Yeah, there's definitely a bonus associated with that.
So I guess sort of to tack onto that question further, with the gyms thing, if we sort of refer other divisions, is that a possibility as a...
Generally not, for the reason, look, as Joel was saying before, you can have somebody who's organising a contract and the contract's out to work, that's one thing. But most franchisees have got more work than they can handle. Like I was looking at one particular job in Mowing in Sydney yesterday, just a couple of days ago, because there was a franchisee asking about how much work's going through and so forth. And there was like 66 franchisees down for that particular area. And only 5 of them were actually able to take any work at all. And one of them had had like 34 jobs in the past 3 days. He had 2 codes. So it's kind of, it's a strange situation, but we tend to be, most divisions have more work than we can cope with.
It's a good question because
you're not going to pay a lot to pay somebody for a job when you've already flat out yourself. That's kind of like where it's at. But
there was a thing called Gyms Networking at some stage. It was like an online system where people could put stuff in. That was a while back. That's an older system.
But sometimes they have local groups where they actually different divisions get together. There's some software that does that. The problem with that again is that anybody who does that, they quickly get so much work that they fall apart. It's an odd situation. You know, the year before last, close to a third of all of our leads were unserviced. Some divisions like mowing and fencing in particular have got massive problems in that area. It's one of our biggest issues. We've just got so much work. And it actually, as our customer service improves, which it has gradually over, previous decades, it's easier and easier to find work. We just can't find enough franchisees to cope with the incredible demand.
But a lot of franchisees, they're like, if they have a gyms person or a non-gyms person, they look after each other with money, or sometimes, like I know from going out, they good Christmas gift, or there might be some sort of cash thing depending on what the job is. Like it's a massive tree.
Well, they refer work back and forth.
Yeah, they do all that sort of stuff. Yeah, but there's nothing as a system though. But we had. I know there was something a while back, but it's not there.
Very informal if anything goes on. Not done through us.
Very good question though. Thanks for that one. Got one here is real quickly. Jim Schuyler's gone. What is the metric of a good franchisor? When will you decide to take a franchisor aside when conflict between a franchisor and a franchisee happens? That's a really good question.
When you get a dispute between a franchisee and a franchisor, which is something that I often get involved with, we look at certain things. First of all, if I had 20 franchisees in the region and you had 19 that were happy and 1 who's been difficult and having problems with the franchisor, that's a franchisee issue. If, on the other hand, I had 4 franchisees who were unhappy and 16 were happy, then you've got a franchisor issue. So you look at the nature of the dispute and you judge it what's going on. Most of the time when franchisees have conflicts with franchisor, it is a franchisee issue. But sometimes there are franchisor issues and then we actually step in. And we can coach the franchisor of what to do, talk to them about how they're behaving, which is often a matter of manner as much as anything else. If it's bad enough, we actually would sometimes suggest a vote out. Because we can't actually, it's a strange situation. We as national franchisors cannot get rid of a franchisor who's abiding by the contract and the manual. And something like manner is something that you really can't put into the manual. But franchisees as a group can. So there tends to be a lot of potential pressure. So if franchisees are unhappy enough, franchisors could actually be faced with being forced out. So that tends to act as a very strong countervailing pressure. It's fairly rare. And there's issues like, we had a couple of cases recently where franchisors were not doing the job right. In one particular case, we basically said to the franchisor, we'll take over, we'll run the region for you, the support, because you're not doing that well enough, but you can sell, for example. or in other cases, franchise or somebody else take over the running or doing more advertising or something like that. So we can sometimes get involved in those kinds of areas when the franchisor is not doing the right thing.
We've got one here, which is a really good one as well for everyone here. Simranjit from Dogwash has gone, do we have to pay extra if we want to employ staff or put on more trailers on the road? Do we have to pay extra in fees or anything?
Well, actually, the only extra you'd pay, if you took more leads, you'd pay more lead fees. But since most of your fees are actually flat fees, there's very little difference.
There we go. And online, real quickly, Jim, someone's gone here. Does it annoy you on TikTok? Does it annoy you when people comment online about a gym's franchise negatively and have no idea about how it runs?
No, it's a good opportunity, actually.
We make a lot of content out of it with Reddit comments and
Yeah,
stuff like that. So.
I actually appreciate the negative comments because you can answer them. I mean, people have crazy ideas. They think we take half of the franchisee's income. But that's a really easy one to do. So what I always say is that inquire about a franchise, get a list of the current franchisees and ring them and ask them. So we get people saying, but you know, it's the best will in the world. People get rumours flying around. But I like the negative stuff, actually. It's an opportunity to actually set the record straight.
Yeah, well, we hunt for negative comments and then we'll do a bunch of videos and reels and stuff with them, and they do.
I'm far more likely to respond to a negative comment than a positive one.
Very, very, very true. So leave negative comments for Jim online, we'll get them as well. If you've got any more questions, guys, please feel free to ask. We've got some more time as well.
Guys, Steve from Test and Tag. Thinking about the Star Wars franchise, if you take into consideration concepts like morals, social, ethical takeaways from that, has any of that ever flowed over into the Jim's group? And if so, from what side of the force did you draw upon?
Well, no. There's no inspiration from Star Wars. I enjoy Star Wars, particularly the first 5. Not so much the sequels after that. I like Star Wars, but I have a thing about villains, and honestly, I'm not actually like that in real life, so it's not much of a lesson. But
good question as well. Couple online as well, which might be really relevant. Jason Smith's gone, has it ever been considered that a franchisee can pay their yearly monthly fees over an 11-month period as an option? This would give a franchisee an opportunity to have the perception of having a month with no fees, for example, at Christmas time. So the month of December, no fees.
Well, it's difficult because fees can vary from month to month because it'll depend on the number of leads taken. So if there was a demand, we could possibly do it. But the thing to bear in mind about fees is they're really quite minor. You're talking about, a couple of $100, less than $200 a week most franchisees pay. It's not very much by comparison with the earning potential.
Another one online from Furious has gone, is a franchisee says, do you have any solution for uncontactable leads?
Keep on trying.
Keep on trying.
We don't take off lead fees. That's a very important principle with us. We have a lead fee which is paid for any lead that we provide. The only reason we take off the lead fee is if the franchise, if it's the wrong service, like they want to pruning against a tree rather than a shrub, or it's the wrong city. Other than that, we have a 15% standard deduction for uncontactable clients. But the basic idea of lead fees is we brought them in because we found that when we have lead fees, franchisees will keep on trying and they'll actually convert a lot more because they've paid a fee for it. Whereas if you make them free, they tend to get, it's okay, I'll just get more tomorrow. Don't bother contacting them.
Then Adam's a franchisee and he's gone here. Jim's making for franchise in Newcastle area. Would you consider doing Jim's Mobile Cafe coffee setup? So a new division.
We actually tried that one time. Again, not the right person driving it. We'd look at it. Not one of the easier ones to do, but if we had the right person, yes, we'd definitely do that.
Cool. We have a couple more cheeky ones as well. This is a difficult one. Not a difficult one, but a negative one. We'll read that out because we said that before. On TikTok, he's gone here. A lot of people I know who are Jim's broke Jim. Jim is the only one who's making money. So he must know a few franchisees, is the claim.
Well, a lot of franchisees do not do very well if you're talking about total numbers. Our latest survey found that, this is a confidential survey we run every year, we found that something over half of franchisees reported good income. Most of the rest were okay, and there was on average 9% poor. So there is a minority of franchisees who don't make money. I would suggest to anybody investigating any franchise, including ours, is that you get hold of a list of current franchisees with their phone numbers and you simply ring up and ask them. And if you do that for gyms, you'll find that the great majority are actually making decent money. So I suggest do your own research.
There's another one here online as well from Jackie Harkin who's gone, we've always got to go political because you like your politics. Says, Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, Jim, what are your thoughts?
Look, I tend to stray on the conservative side of politics in most ways, but Trump is a dangerous man. He really is. This is a guy who doesn't want to accept the result of democratic election, and it worries me greatly that he's very likely to be the next leader of the United States.
There you go. Any more questions for Jim, guys, or do you have anything as well? If you don't, what we'll do now, Jim, what questions stood out to you? And we can pick out the prizes for the first grabs, and then we'll give everyone who asked the question a prize as well.
I don't know. There were so many good questions. I like the one about family, balancing family. I think that's
Balancing
always
family
important.
time. Who asked that?
That was here, wasn't it?
Yep, come up, grab anything you like, mate. So pick from the front there. What would you like? You can take anything. You can take one, yep. One thing.
Thank you.
Take one, yep. Don't take all of them, that's all right. One's all right. What was the next one, Jim? Oh, good. Good man.
There were so many good questions.
There was a lot of good questions. It was really good. Anything that stood out to you? Well, this gentleman gave you a glass of water. I thought that was a very nice gesture as well, taking action and giving you... He asked some good questions as well about your research about where the world's heading. So come up and pick whatever you like.
I like that one.
Thanks. No, I don't want the hat.
Wants the hat. And what else do you want to stood out to you?
I'll get one of your books too.
Yes, come to the office and we'll get somebody to give them for you.
Thank you very much.
One of the black books. I don't know. They're doing what?
This young gentleman at the front, nice questions about Australian person you admire, all that sort of stuff as well. Those sorts of things. Come up if you like. And guys, what we'll do is anyone who asked a question on the microphone, please come up and see me at the end. We've got shirts and hats we can give away. If there is stuff, one item. There's nothing in there, so you can't take it. It's just a prop. It's all right. Nice try. Very clever. There we go. But guys, if you ask a question on Jim at the mic, you can come up and see me at the end. We've got a Monopoly here to give away, some beers and hats, and we'll give that to you as well. Yeah. If you want to ask a question now, Jim? All right, cool.
Yeah.
Go for it.
What makes you happy? What do you do on your spare time?
I like gardening, actually. It's my biggest hobby, actually, is go out. I love just going out, being outside, working physically with soil and just doing physical things outside. In terms of what I spend my time on, what makes me happy is a lot of things, though. Having a meaningful life, having a purpose in life, which is to do with my research and my franchisees, having relationships, good relationships. I love my wife dearly and my kids and that sort of thing. Church.
Yeah.
Enjoy church very much.
Thank you.
There you go.
Good question.
So guys, if you've got a question for Jim, probably going to have to wrap it up for live because we normally go now. Ask him at the end. Now's a great time to get photos with Jim. We've got the light there. Wednesdays are madness and a rush, everyone trying to do it. So if you want a photo with Jim or video, whatever you want, we can do it over here. So give me your phone and I can hand it over as well. If you ask the question on the microphone, please come up. Thank you very much for your attention tonight. And thank you very much to TikTok as well. We'll find you again next time. Cool.